Thank you for joining us on Balancing Life and Medicine. I'm Dr. Dwayne Bogus, and my guest today is Edward J. from Solid Rock Realtors. I'll get it out eventually.
Eventually, yeah. You're new at this.
I'll warm up to it. So we're going to be diving into Ed's life and how he got into real estate, how he's affecting the community around him, and how he's made an impact on my life, as well as many others that I network with, business owners, just educating the community in what's realistic as far as real estate, what's realistic as far as maybe moving a business or changing office spaces. Ed has so many answers, and I want to dive into it with him. So thank you for joining me today.
Welcome. No pressure, by the way.
No.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. You're an Air Force veteran.
Correct.
So I just wanted to get that out there, being an Army veteran. We're just going to start off, no gloves or anything. It'll be fun. No, how long have we known each other, Ed? It's been, because we started a networking group class together.
Yes.
2018, 17?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, it's about right. About around 18.
Yeah.
That was, both of us, you with your business and me coming in as, in real estate, learning that aspect, now being the director of the commercial division for Solid Rock, it's blossomed, it's grown. It's been a what we call the real estate roller coaster. There's ups and downs, and you're going sideways, and you got that plateau, and then it drops again. And I think over time, that you understand the community better as you learn real estate. With my background, I've always been a fan of the customer first. Servant leadership with the military. Understanding those relationships are critical. They're very important. Whether it's military wise, you're gathering information, you're out with the public, or you're working with team members, or you're in real estate. We're trying to help. That's the best thing to do. Is just I'm trying to help somebody. Whether it's a residential property, a specific asset, it's a land, it could be a commercial building. I'm helping them to better themselves. Have a better life with a new home. Maybe they've got land they're not using, and let's take that asset, liquidate it, and increase your portfolio. Increase maybe an investment property for you and your family, so you have some residual income. Explaining the fact that you can retire using real estate. And that's one of the things I explain to my clients and teach to some of my clients, if that's something they want to do, to where it's generational wealth. So that's one of the big things. I love to do that, because it's not just about finding the right property, but over time to have somebody say, you know what, I can actually quit my job or retire early because of the income that's coming in from my properties.
See, that's the amazing part about getting to know you, is I was so afraid to ever own a home before I met you, but because it's a massive thing to step into if you've never done it before. So if you don't know the checks and balances, if you don't know the dangers, because that's a place where a lot of people make huge mistakes, and they're paying for them for the rest of their life, and they're burned, and they think, well, I'm never going to do that again. I'm just going to rent, or I'm going to get into an apartment. But what they're missing out on is that long-term investment, that generational wealth that you can, if you set it up right.
Correct. That's the big thing.
Yeah, and that's where we need you, because we just don't know. We don't go into our careers and specialize in whatever we may specialize in, and then just know real estate and how the market's doing, how it's projected to look, what we can use along the way of building that generational wealth. There's so many tools that we don't know about.
Correct.
And I know, as far as our business here, we visited you a couple of times in the past as we were looking for, maybe we want to upgrade or go to a bit. So in other words, it's not just a home, it was business locations. It's how to expand, how to join other businesses, how to benefit not just yourself, but those around you, because there's a big picture of wealth that comes with groups and with benefiting who your neighbor's with. And you bring a lot of that safety that I felt confident when my wife and I were looking for a home. Of course, we had this vast, we went all these things, and poor Ed was like, all right, well, if you want to commute from Arkansas, where are you willing to, because we're in Tulsa, Mogi. I mean, there's so many different areas, places I had never heard of.
Right.
And you're like, we can go look at houses, and your patience with us was amazing. because I think we went to some areas that as soon as we seen it from a distance, you already knew this, that my wife was like, yeah, no. And you're like, good, we can start crossing these things off our list.
Right.
But you also played mediator. Like the frustration that a husband and wife can have in looking for a home. I like this, but I don't like this. We can make this work. Do you have any idea what you're talking about? All these kind of things that start to build your mindset. You have an MBA, right?
Correct.
But there's a lot of psychology that comes from the years of military service, that experience that you roll up, and understanding how a family dynamic works and where breaking points are, and where people lose their mind as far as, I want to get all this real estate now, and you're like, let's set up a plan.
Right. And that to your point, the planning prior to looking is critical, because if we just want to go look at stuff, and then that happens, I'll know it when I see it. I get that a lot. I said,
That's gotta be rough.
It is, but and that's fine, because if we're going to go that route, okay, I'm going to show you this property, and then maybe another one that's totally opposite, twice as much, more land, or maybe something that's just a residential lot. So now we try to gauge from both ends, and now we're coming to the center somewhere. Center left, center right, whatever it is, from one house to the other. So it takes more time. But if we don't know, and after talking to you and your wife to figure out what you want to do, well, a good example, I think we went to Mounds at one point. Mounds or Bags?
Bags.
The Bags, and went all the way out there, and I was like, it's a drive. I know it's a drive, and I think, but I need you guys to know it's a drive. So we went, we walked the property, had nice land, everything was decent. And then at the end of the day, can you do this every day, right? Is this commute going to be worth it? And sleep on it. We don't make rash decisions. I don't ask you, hey, let's put in an offer today, because that never works. Think about it. Let me get back to me. You guys have a sidebar. You guys talk about it. Then bring me into the conversation. Pros and cons. I'll mediate. I'll have to separate you two. I'll sit in the middle. You guys sit on the ends of the couch, and we'll hash it out. Like a tea table. Pros and cons. And then at that point, we decided no, that's not it. And we move on to the next one. And then to meet you at your apartment, I was like, yeah. You're going to need more furniture. That was one of the biggest
There was a whole lot more investment going on than just a home.
It's not just about the house, too. You have to fill up the rooms. But when we found the right home, one of the things, and I talk to a lot of my clients like this, and whether it's residential, commercial, it doesn't matter. When you walk into that property, in that building, that house, that home, if it's a home, can you see yourself here during the holidays? Can you picture the Christmas tree here? Can you picture Thanksgiving over here? Is there an Easter egg hunt in the backyard? Family reunions? Can you set it? Do you see a future in this home? Yes, it's a beautiful home. Yes, it's brand new flooring. The roof's been redone, all the new fixtures. But is it your home? That's the other key part of it. There's plenty of beautiful houses out there, but which one is yours? Right? And that's kind of it's the psychological aspect of future ownership, not just, I like it, let's buy it, because that's way too quick, and buyer's remorse can set in fairly quickly. And then I'm going to get a phone call, right? So I want to make sure we're good. It's not on my timeline, it's yours. So we want to make sure that everything with all those aspects and attributes in play, if it checks all those boxes, give it another day, we're good, let's make an offer.
Sleep on it. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember, just a funny side note, I don't know if it was the place in Beggs, I think it was like Winchester or somewhere south. It was it Peoria? Way down. Like I didn't even know that the street names were out there. It was in the middle of the countryside. And we were talking, and you were discussing this. I think it was a few acres. My wife and I were talking it over. It looked really nice. And we start to talk, and this is where Ed's like intel comes into play in military service, because he's like, be real careful what you say. You're being videoed and listened to. Camera in the corner. And I was like, what? There was cameras all over the place. In other words, you had our back. And you're like, don't say anything out loud, because these individuals are going to do things based on this conversation. Just a funny side. I was like,
oh yeah,
wow.
that happens. It happens. More so now, COVID, post-COVID, and as realtors, we do kind of prep our clients prior to going into a property. You know, if you, because I've seen, there's cameras, I've seen them in plants, I've seen them in the vents.
This is common.
I don't know if it's common. I've seen it. I mean, not in every household, but you know, it happens. I mean, it's just how it is. You know, people protect their privacy, especially when they're still living there.
Yeah,
You know,
of
they
course.
just, you know, they want to protect their assets.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't blame them. You know, I would too. But, you know, we want to make sure that it's our best face forward, assess the property.
Yeah.
You know, we take our notes and we discuss it off property because we want to make sure that we get into that moment, you know, oh, it's an awesome pool, and oh, I love the floors, or, you know, why is that wall there? You know, why it's just so crowded in here? It's a galley kitchen. I don't want to get this is, you know, I hate the colors, you know, and you're verbalizing that in the home. You know, it could have an adverse effect on any offer, even if we made an offer.
So yeah, because they're saying, dude, I'm not going to sell my house. They're going to rip everything out. I've spent years putting this together. Why would I? Yeah. So, well, there's another part that I want to dig into with you because it's your ability to stay at the basics. Like, what is your strategy as far as staying humble and working with families maybe that don't have a big income compared to those who do? I mean, because you're still Ed.
Right.
You don't put on a different face. There's not a facade.
No.
It's you being the same consistent individual every day, and in a world that's got a lot of money involved, and that can persuade a lot of people to change their attitudes or how they feel, or maybe if they feel like they're empowered. And how do you
or entitled
entitled?
You know,
That's
you know,
one. That's what that word.
and that's, you know, I take every opportunity as it comes. There's no cookie cutter defining strategy, right? There's no default statement, like with you and Ilding. You know, well, first of all, you know, we're veterans, so we had that connection, right?
Yeah.
So, and that started the basis, the ground rules, you know, of our relationship for being a client. Then we became friends shortly after, right? And that happens with any client. It's not a matter of, you know, I'm the realtor, I know what's best, I'm going to show you what I think you need to have. That doesn't work. It never works, right? Because it's all relationship based. You know, it's whether, you know, like I said, you know, I've got an MBA, Lean Six Sigma certification. I've had business development 20 years. You know, I've got all this stuff in the back of my head, right? But I don't. That's not my.
All these different screens.
Yeah, you know, all these screens in the back of my head. You know, because of all the experience that I've had in business development and you know, it's just all this other stuff. But I don't bring that to the front. You know, that's in the back. So as I'm absorbing the information, I'm asking the right questions. I'm listening to understand better what your needs are. Or wants and needs. You know, sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're way different, and we got to adjust. But when I hear that, then all these other screens are being filled in the back of my head, going, okay, these are boxes that are being checked off. You know, so, and maybe there's some boxes that they didn't even realize needed to be checked off.
Right.
So then I bring those questions up to the front. Like, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, it's a good question. Oh, we didn't know. Right. So thank you, because now you're giving me information, computing it back here with all the screens, and now I'm responding with the answers or maybe more questions. And everybody's going to be different. I have clients that are, you know, analytically minded, you know, more of the marketing aspect. You know, they want to hurry up and make a quick decision. Let's go. It's fun. It's, you know, I want something that's, you know, it's a short-term purchase.
Right.
So we look at the best way to purchase a home, and then maybe later sell that property, and maybe goes into a 1031 exchange because it's not their primary residence, and now we're building a business for themselves, a portfolio, or it's their home, their primary. And then we go back to that same thing. Can you see yourself living here? What about kids, pets, things of that nature? Excuse me. So there's so many other conversations I have based on the client. I'm not changing, I'm just adjusting to the conversation with my client. And having that background and experience, you know, living in other countries, talking to other individuals, having different business experiences, the education aspect, all of that stuff helps me to change direction of the conversation based on the individual and the family that I'm working with.
So that you just unpacked a whole lot that I'll probably be digesting for a week or two. But
you can play this back later at home.
I'm gonna just kind of study and take notes. with all that being said, I mean, you've got to see, since I've met you, 2018 sales started skyrocket. Things were going off the charts as far as people buying, and well, obviously they had to be selling for people to be buying. And then we hit COVID, and those years really got weird for the buying and sales. And now we're getting into a new era. Through that process, you've stayed busy, you've stayed steady. You've thrown your hat in multiple different arenas. With all that being said, I've seen a lot of realtors come and go, like the young ones. Like there was a part of the ingredient that they were bringing that just wasn't making it work, and that's your time tested is what I'm trying to say. And if there's anything that you could say to a young realtor, as far as the basics, what I mean, because you've probably trained, you've tried to help others succeed. You're not just you're a teacher too. You're always teaching. And just watching realtors struggle, I mean, I got patients that they took themselves out of that world. They're like, I'm going to go back. I can't, and they find something they're comfortable with, less interaction with people or whatever the case may be, because you really have to love people.
Yeah, it's a relationship business. You need to love to work with people. Yeah.
So what kind of advice would you give a young realtor? I mean, is there any kind of advice, or is it just jump in there and we'll see if you...
No, yeah, please don't do that. It's the perspective of the potential realtor, right? What do they see? Who is it? They see their friends being successful? Are they watching a TV show, that shows the lifestyles of a realtor that's making millions of dollars and they're selling multi-million-dollar homes and they're, or are they looking at it because family members are involved and they see that, they see the wins, right? Somebody, oh, my uncle just sold a $500,000 home and he's doing really well. Well, what happened before that house? What happened between that house and the next house? How many deals did not happen? A lot of people don't talk about the roller coaster, the downturn. And maybe it's a pride concern. I don't want to tell people I'm doing poorly. I've had my downtime. We all have.
Yeah.
But what do you do to get out of that? Do you keep pressing forward? We talk about seasonal changes. Most businesses have a seasonal change. In real estate, we figure there's a slight drop. I think it's between November and February, and it could be 5%, 7%, somewhere in there. It's not a big drop, but you don't want to make it bigger than it really is. You lose a couple clients. Oh, it's the market. Oh, some of that stuff is affecting what you do, but don't let it affect how you do your job. So new agents that come in, depends on what time of the year they come in. They could come in and right out the gate, they put the house on the market on Thursday, they're in contract on Sunday, and like, man, this is easy, this is cool, I can make this happen. And then when the market shifts, now they're having to do a little bit more. They're having to explain a little bit better, market the property a little bit more. And if they don't have that training ahead of time, it's almost a detriment to their career because they don't know how to promote themselves. And if I back up a little bit more, even before they get their license, is to have a 3 to 5 year game plan. Okay, not just jump in and say, I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna run with it. I'm aggressive. I'm gonna do. No, think of, it's good. Don't get me wrong. You should have that, that aggressiveness and be positive about it. But have a little bit of safeguard in the background, maybe some financials, hold some money back, save some money for those slow times when you're starting. Maybe get on a team. If you don't have that backing, that following, what we call your circle of influence, and you don't have a big following, get on those teams and learn some of that. Co-list with somebody, shadow somebody with a listing. How are you marketing yourself? Look at people, their Facebook ads, social media ads, their postings, and see what works for other people. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel. You just want to add your own spokes to the wheel and make that your own. But learn from those other people. Because you've heard this in the past, to be successful, you hang around successful people. Yes. But prepare yourself for that. Don't just jump in and say, okay, somebody here is going to teach me how to be the best realtor ever. Well, maybe, but until then, be prepared. Because that messes with your psyche so bad.
It's a psychological game.
It is. Yeah. And if you're not prepared for those downturns, those hard times, as it were, it affects your job. You could be on the phone and they can feel the negativity. They can feel the desperation of you wanting to help them.
You've taught classes on that. Smile when you're talking to your clients or your customers or patients.
You remember that?
Oh yeah, because I thought
they can hear you
they can hear
smile.
it. Yeah.
And that's what I was teaching. I said, you have to have that positive attitude. You could have had a terrible day. It's Thursday and Monday through Wednesday was just terrible, right? But you need to be smiling on that phone because they can hear you smile. That was that's just one very small part of the psychological aspect of being that realtor for somebody. And when you say that, just like, your face lit up going, yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah.
Well, now that we're smiling about it, your tone changes, your attitude changes, and they can hear that, they can feel that over the phone.
Yeah.
So, and that's just one aspect of it. It's not like I haven't cold called in years. But for those that are starting, that's one of the things. It's something very simple. But to teach that, you have to be accepting that the way somebody's teaching you. Don't say, oh no, I'm going to do it this way because my uncle did it or my brother's doing it. Okay, well, that's their way of doing things. Your personality may not be the same.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because as we do see those individuals that they do a certain thing or they've got their way of succeeding, it seems like there's always a common denominator. There's an answer for the bad times.
Yes.
There's an answer when this is a no, but we have a yes here, or this is not the end of the road. I know this is what you had on your heart and mind. What if there was something even better? Or what if?
Correct.
And I know that's the same way I handle patients in the clinic. My wife, she's like, I don't know if this patient was happy when they left. I don't know, because patients come in and they're angry because they haven't slept in days. They're in pain. So they're grouchy, and that's part of this world. You probably see more, I don't know what you see, desperation or just this drive. People need to get a home or they need to get a business move, whatever the case is. But my wife is always like, will you call? Because I don't know what they were feeling when they left, and I'm afraid of the response. I'm like, what do you think? I'm hurting people back here? I mean, So when I pick up that phone and I call them, I hear your words, and I immediately, as the phone's ringing, I start to smile because I know that that individual in some way, shape, or form is going to be pleased by the end of the conversation. I want them to be happy, and I want them to have an answer and a direction to go in, and I think that's in all aspects.
Yeah, it is.
And before you pick the phone up, have an answer, but also have a smile.
Right.
Right? And the psychological game, I know that's in just about every industry where you got seasons, you get lows, you're getting started, you think you know everything, just to find out that you're on the ground looking up. I mean, you're face planted. So with that in mind, the expectations to be a realtor, to be successful in a community, there's a lot there to set your mind up before you ever step in the ring.
Right, and to prepare yourself.
Yeah.
And to that point, I joke about it at the office. If I'm having a bad day, my door's closed, or like, maybe he's on a conference call, maybe he's on a Zoom call. I'm probably under my desk crying, and it happens every now and then. I obviously don't say that to everybody. Of course, now that everybody's going to see this, if you see me under my desk, I'm just looking for my glasses. I'm not crying, but I joke about that because it's stressful. It's a stressful industry. New regulations that have come up, we need to make adjustments for that as well. So, new agents coming in, they'll never understand that transition period. They're just going to learn what's new now.
What's there.
Correct. So, in any field, whether it's, in real estate, and of course I was in the RV business, I was a broadband engineer, I was in, different things. It's all about consistency, right? Consistency with what you do, how you promote your business, how you treat your customers, how you treat your clients, potential clients, investors for me, or, whatever it may be. But there's a consistency in what you do to be successful. If you're not, you're all over the place.
Yeah.
I could treat you a certain way, I could treat somebody else a certain way, and it could be totally different.
And we could talk.
And then you're like, well, Ed didn't act that way. Ed didn't tell me this. Ed didn't, Ed, and there goes the finger pointing. Well, if I'm consistent in how I represent myself with some adjustments based on my clientele base.
Sure.
There's that consistency of who Ed really is. And, I think that's critical because not only is it consistent in how you treat your clients, but in how your daily operations, standard operating procedures, right?
SOP.
For all of us that, have gone through this, that terror,
The brainwashing.
yes, every day, like my calendars, Monday I have certain things, Tuesday, every day there's certain things at certain times that I get reminders on 15, 30 minutes prior to set up to do something, whether it's with a client, social media, meetings, Zoom calls, whatever it is. My calendars are full. So, I try to separate, change the hats, right?
Yeah.
I go from here, we're on a podcast, and from here, I'm going to go talk to a client. I'm doing a doc review. I'm going to go walk a property for a client. I'm on a Zoom call for training or something, so those are different hats. But as we progress in our careers, we prepare ourselves for those times, those differences, and have prior experience to become successful. Wisdom and being consistent in that. That, for me, that's the biggest word, consistency. Whatever we're doing, be consistent about it. If it's wrong, change it and then be consistent when it's positive. Figure it out. And that's over time. That's experience.
Now I want to dive back into a little bit of Ed's history.
Sure. It's scary.
I know it's spooky. I get to see a picture of you training a little bitty girl. Because you've been in the ring before. You're not talking about psychological, just preparedness.
The physical beating, yeah.
The physical part of it. But I see this picture, and you're like, she was a tiny little thing. And I remember you saying that little girl was vicious, like she would take out anybody.
Oh my gosh,
but
yes.
A sweetheart.
She was awesome.
So you've done like the personal training as far as the discipline.
Yes.
And that's a big deal. That comes into play a lot with what you do.
It does. I mean, I'm not beating up my clients, but the mentality, that mental strength, to you're verbally getting beat down, you're mentally tired. You get up and you brush yourself off, and
hopefully I was clear enough. He doesn't beat up little girls. So he was training this little lady.
So let's get that clarified, right? She was one of my best students. I was doing I was a combative tactics instructor for a long time, and I fought 10 years, off and on, K1 before it was popular, I fought overseas, and had to not get too hurt because you're government property, and if you hurt yourself, then you get in trouble. So bruises and beat up and busted lips, stuff like that was a normal thing. But coming back to the States was I had this it was like a big bully program, like how to defend yourself with these kids. And she was one of maybe a couple of girls that were in the class. And she was amazing. She had her stance, and she was aggressive, and she just, and she would hit the bags, and she'd throw knees, and she'd grab, and she'd hit. And I had it on Facebook for a while. I'd posted it, and this is years ago, okay? So just everybody knows, this is a long time ago. I'm 53 now, and that's my body hurts, right? I too many surgeries and everything else. And so it's all good memory, whatever I have left, whatever memories left there. She was amazing. She, very technical, trained. If she would have stuck with it, they had moved. I think they moved to Houston. Her dad was in oil and gas, and if she would have stayed another year, I would have actually had her training some of the kids to show that it's not just the boys doing this. This girl she's going to teach these other boys how to do this.
How old was she? Do you remember?
I think she was like 6, maybe 5 or 6
at the time.
Wow, she cool. She was a cool little kid. And it's funny. Her older sister was there, and she did some of the calisthenics stuff. She got into some of the boxing stuff. Nothing major, but it's more for calisthenics kind of thing. And then I noticed her little sister quit showing up. I was like, where's she at? She's like, she started liking boys. So she didn't want to break her nails. She didn't want to get messed.
Oh goodness.
Well, apparently, and her dad. It's like one of my best stories with the kids. Her dad calls me and said, "Look, I want to thank," because they were moving, right? He said, "I want to thank you for teaching my daughter how to defend herself and take care of herself." He says, "I'm going to go I'm on my way to the school to go pick her up. She's getting suspended." I was like, "What? What happened?" Well, I teach them, to defend themselves, but respectfully, like don't just start swinging, right? Well, I guess she was with some of her friends, and this little boy had snuck up behind her and pulled her hair, and she, did this. She looked back, she said, "Stop doing that," and she went and talked to her friends, and I guess him and his buddies, they just laugh, and he pulled her hair again. She said, "Stop doing that," and he didn't stop, so she just turned around and hit him once, and dropped him. crying on the floor, and she's like in her stance, waiting for him to get up. So oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought this up because this is funny. So she goes to the principal's office, and then her dad's telling me that he's laughing on the phone while he's telling me this, and so he's on, like I said, he's on his way to go pick her up, and this is him telling me this. The principal's calling him, saying what's going on. Well, she's in the office with the principal. And he said, well, yeah, she was in a little altercation on the playground. Everything, nobody's really hurt. She's fine. And he said he can hear her in the background going, Dad, it was the 3-strike rule. Dad, it was the 3-strike rule. And I'm laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? He's like, yeah, she gave him plenty of options to leave her alone.
Yeah.
And that was the 3-strike rule. And she popped him. And I was like, I'm so proud of her. And he's like, me too. So, I mean, the kid wasn't hurt. I mean, it's just, it was an embarrassing thing for this kid. But because it was a physical altercation, they both got in trouble. He instigated, she finished. He took her to Brahms, I think, to go get ice cream, something like that. And this has been so long ago. I would love to know where she's at right now, wherever she's at, But it was one of those things where the training that and adults too, I taught adults as well, but just that to hear that some of the training paid off. It wasn't a big deal, like it wasn't a life or death situation, but it was something that somebody retained to defend themselves in that aspect of, I gave you plenty of options, a 3-strike rule.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the principal's office, right? So, but yeah, so but that mentality for me to bring that to the table for my clients, not that I'm saying I'm gonna defend my clients, when we go to an open house, stay out. I'm gonna go clear the rooms, No, it's not like that. But having that mentality of protecting my clients, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a fiduciary responsibility, but just for me personally, I take that personal. I'm protecting my client. I'm protecting their assets. I'm protecting their financial well-being, their futures. With their properties, whether it's a portfolio, their main property, it's a commercial building, whatever it is. It's personal. For me, it's personal.
And it shows because you're successful.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for sharing all that because there's a lot to unpack there and. I'm just having all kinds of memories of the house showing that you did with the house that we ended up buying.
Yeah.
Remember there was a realtor there and she was about to show and I think you said something about did the ghost leave in the back? And the poor realtor was
did, yeah.
Like there was a whole things got weird for a second.
I knew her. I found out that we worked a couple deals together. I said yeah, I think the place is haunted. And I kind of looked out there. She's kind of shook her head, But and that's how a lot of us in the real estate community. They always say look, there's about 5,000 realtors at any given time. Well, it's still a niche market. There's not there's a lot, but how many out there can really take care of their clients? And then you go into the commercial world. That circle's even smaller. So, and I do both. And so there's not I wouldn't say it's a misnomer, but, when somebody says I'm an agent, I'm a real estate agent and I do residential, you can still do commercial. A lot of people don't understand that. They try to find a commercial agent, who's got a commercial license. And there's not a commercial license. You just have to have the ability to do both. And I teach that to our residential agents that want to learn commercial, because you can get in trouble. I mean, that's a big problem, because you're not just dealing with somebody's house, you're dealing with somebody's livelihood and their employees. And 9 times out of 10, there's a lawyer that's going to be contacting you because you screwed up. So you got to be very careful on those aspects.
See, when it gets to that area, it gets spooky. Yeah. We'll have to actually save that one for another show.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get you back in because that's a discussion that. There's a lot of legal changes that happen with the marijuana industry, with property, with farms. But we'll save that for another discussion because that's in itself a big deal. Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. All the years that we've got to hang out and the beautiful home I get to go home to every day.
And the pool.
Yeah. And all the cool things that we've been able to upgrade. We're going to have you and Donna over.
Of course.
But thank you for joining us today. This has been Edward J. with Solid Rock Realtors. And if you want to contact Eddie, how do you? What's a good way? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Instagram?
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can call me directly at 918-232-2389. Email me at ejayproperties@gmail.com.
Perfect. And you're on the radio too.
Yes, we actually have Real Estate Talk with Solid Rock. It's on 102.3 KRMG. It's on Saturdays from 3 to 4. I'm on the first and the third Saturday of each month, and then Michael Urey, who's the owner of Solid Rock, he handles the other 2 days. We do have our show on the first Saturday, where we kind of do a little banter back and forth. So it's from residential and commercial. Residential is one of the things I do, and we actually. As far as Solid Rock goes, we just opened up another office in Grove, Oklahoma. So now we have 9 offices in Oklahoma, over 200 agents. We are one of the biggest privately owned real estate brokerages in Oklahoma. So he's done an awesome job. He has grown this exponentially. It's just amazing what he's done.
And that's good, honest work.
It is.
That's how it shows.
Yeah.
So look up Eddie. He'll be happy to help you. He's been great in my family's life, at even extended family down into Wetumpka, Oklahoma. So thank you for joining us today. And until next time, take care of each other, enjoy your community, and I look forward to seeing you.